Ladies and gentlemen, in a world where oversharing has become the norm, silence has turned into a rare strength. Today, I want to talk about something that can change the way people see you, how you protect your peace, and how you move ahead in life, mastering the art of keeping things to yourself. We live in a time where everyone wants to be heard, to post everything they do, think, or plan. But not everything needs to be spoken, shared, or exposed. Sometimes your next move, your deepest thoughts, and your personal struggles are best kept private. Why? Because silence builds power. It protects your vision from doubt, jealousy, and unnecessary opinions. It gives your mind clarity and shields your energy from distractions. When you speak less, you listen more. And when you listen more, you learn faster, grow stronger, and succeed quietly. Learning to keep things to yourself doesn't mean hiding who you are. It means valuing your journey enough not to expose every part of it. Whether it's your goals, relationships, money, or plans, silence keeps you focused and mysterious, a combination that often leads to greatness. So today, I challenge you. Become the kind of person who speaks with purpose, who protects their energy, and who doesn't need to announce every move to feel validated. Because true power, real wisdom, and inner peace come when you master the art of keeping things to yourself. In a noisy world where everyone is trying to be heard, those who stay quiet often hold the most power. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the conscious choice to protect your thoughts, emotions, and energy from unnecessary exposure. When you learn to hold back from saying everything you think or feel, you gain something far more valuable than attention. You gain control. Think about it. Every time you stay silent instead of reacting, you're choosing your peace over chaos. You're rising above the urge to prove a point, argue your truth, or reveal your next move. This quiet self-control becomes your armor. It prevents others from using your words against you. It keeps you unpredictable. And in a world full of loud voices and empty promises, being unpredictable is powerful. Silence allows you to observe more, understand deeper, and react less. It turns your focus inward, on your growth, your goals, and your journey. It gives your mind room to process, to analyze, and to build quietly. While others are busy talking, you're building in silence. And one day, the results of your discipline will speak louder than anything you could have ever said out loud. Real strength is not in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your restraint. It's the ability to hold your tongue when you could easily defend, explain, or brag. It's choosing to say nothing, because you don't need validation. Because your confidence lives within, not in the reactions of others. Silence is not emptiness. It's not absence. It's full of meaning, purpose, and hidden fire. It's the strongest voice you can have when used at the right time, for the right reason. And once you understand this, you stop wasting your energy trying to be heard, and start using it to build a life that speaks for itself. When you choose to keep things to yourself, you're not just practicing silence, you're building a powerful defense against negativity. Every time you share your dreams, your plans, or your personal life with the wrong people, you expose your energy to opinions, doubts, and criticism that can infect your mindset like a slow poison. The world is filled with people who don't want to see you rise. Some will pretend to support you while secretly hoping you fail. Others may discourage you, not because your vision is unrealistic, but because they can't imagine it for themselves. When you speak too soon, when you open the doors to your inner world without caution, you invite these negative forces into spaces they don't belong. But silence protects. It keeps your intentions safe from judgment. It gives you the space to move in peace without interference. When no one knows what you're working on, no one can ruin it with fear, envy, or unwanted advice. You stay in control, not only of your actions, but of the energy around them. Even well-meaning people can hurt your momentum. They might point out flaws, risks, or what happened when someone else tried something similar and failed. Suddenly, what was once a clear path becomes clouded with hesitation, not because of facts, but because of someone else's fear. And fear is contagious. That's why privacy isn't just a personal preference. It's a form of protection. By guarding your words, your ideas, and your struggles, you create a boundary between yourself and the world. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to seek approval. You don't even have to defend what you're doing. You simply work in silence, allowing your results to become your voice later. Keeping things to yourself shields your vision until it's strong enough to stand on its own. It gives you the peace to fail privately, learn quietly, and grow without noise. It protects you from being derailed by opinions that were never meant to guide your journey. There's a hidden power in keeping things to yourself. It sharpens your focus and clears your mental space like nothing else. In a world where everyone is constantly updating others on their every move, the act of staying silent becomes a rare superpower. It pulls you away from distractions and pushes you deeper into purpose. When you stop talking about what you're going to do and instead start quietly working toward it, everything becomes clearer. Your direction, your priorities, your energy. The problem with constantly sharing your goals, ideas, and struggles is that it spreads your focus thin. Every time you tell someone what you're planning to do, part of your mind starts to think about how they'll react, what they'll say, whether they'll believe in you or not. Slowly, your attention starts drifting from the actual goal to the conversation about it. Instead of moving forward with full force, you're subconsciously adjusting your actions based on how others perceive your journey. But when you keep things to yourself, your focus becomes laser sharp. Your vision becomes yours alone, not shaped, influenced, or distorted by anyone else's opinions. You stop needing permission. You stop needing applause. You stop needing validation. Your thoughts become clearer because you've removed the noise of outside commentary. And that clarity, it's powerful. It allows you to break your goals down into real steps, to evaluate your progress without comparison, and to adjust your path without having to explain it to anyone. You gain the freedom to fail without shame, to restart without judgment, and to succeed without pressure. Focusing in silence also helps you identify what really matters. You're no longer working for recognition. You're working for results. You learn to enjoy the process, not the praise. You stay committed to the vision, not the conversation around it. Every hour you spend quietly building, every moment you protect from distraction, adds up to something solid, something real. When your mind is no longer cluttered with trying to convince others of your purpose, you finally begin to walk in it with confidence and peace. Focus and clarity thrive in silence, and the fewer voices you allow in your head, the louder your inner direction becomes. There is something undeniably powerful about a person who doesn't reveal too much, someone who moves with intention, speaks with purpose, and keeps others guessing. This is the silent force of mystery, and it commands a level of respect that loud words never can. When you master the art of keeping things to yourself, you become unpredictable, and in that unpredictability lies strength, influence, and quiet dominance. Mystery is not about secrecy for the sake of being secretive. It's about maintaining your personal space, your emotional privacy, and your mental boundaries. When people can't easily read you, they begin to pay closer attention. They start watching your actions more carefully. Your silence makes them curious, and curiosity often turns into admiration. In both personal and professional relationships, mystery creates a sense of dignity. You don't need to constantly update dictate the world on your life, your moves, or your opinions. You show up, do your work, make progress behind closed doors, and let the results speak. And when results come from a place of silence, they leave a stronger impact. People begin to see you as someone with control, confidence, and depth. We tend to respect those who are selective with their words. Why? Because in a society where everyone is speaking just to be heard, the person who speaks less appears more thoughtful. Their words carry weight, their presence feels intentional. You start to be seen not just as someone who talks, but as someone worth listening to. The truth is, mystery challenges people. It draws a line that says, "You only get to know what I allow you to know." And that self-control, that refusal to overshare, earns you both respect and power. You're not being cold or distant. You're protecting your essence, your peace, and your purpose. You're showing others that you are not an open book for public commentary or consumption. In fact, mystery often reveals more about your strength than speaking ever could. When you don't explain your every emotion or every decision, people start to sense that your confidence runs deep, that you're not driven by the need for approval, but by a mission they might not fully understand yet. And that makes you magnetic. That makes you unforgettable. One of the greatest benefits of keeping things to yourself is that it allows you to grow, plan, and move without the heavy weight of outside pressure. When you share your goals, dreams, or personal matters with others too soon, you unknowingly invite expectations, and expectations often come wrapped in pressure. Pressure to succeed quickly, pressure to meet a standard, pressure to prove yourself. This kind of pressure doesn't always come from enemies or critics. It can come from friends, family, or even well-meaning supporters who now have a stake in your journey. Suddenly, your quiet personal goal becomes a public project, open for commentary and judgment. Every setback feels bigger, every delay feels embarrassing, and every move starts to feel like it has to be justified. Not because it's wrong, but because others are now watching. Sharing too early turns your path into a performance. Instead of focusing on learning and growing at your own pace, you may feel the need to impress or outdo someone else's timeline. And in that rush to meet expectations, the journey starts to lose its authenticity. You begin making decisions based on appearances rather than substance. You become more concerned with being seen as successful than actually becoming successful. But when you keep things to yourself, you free yourself from this external weight. You reclaim the space to try, to fail, to pivot, and to start again, all without eyes watching and voices commenting. You give yourself the privacy to grow in the dark, just like a seed does before it breaks the ground. And that privacy becomes your personal greenhouse. It protects your motivation, your creativity, and your drive from being distorted by pressure. You also begin to understand what you truly want, separate from what others expect of you. Because when no one else knows what you're aiming for, there's no one to please but yourself. You can take the time to refine your path, align it with your purpose, and explore it on your terms. The absence of outside noise allows your inner voice to guide you more clearly. And the truth is, pressure is not always healthy. Some people break under it. Some quit because of it. Some change their dreams to smaller, safer versions just to avoid disappointing others. But when you learn to walk quietly, without the need to broadcast your plans, you protect your freedom to evolve, to change direction, and to build something that is real, not rushed. When you learn to keep things to yourself, a powerful transformation begins to take place within you. You shift from speaking to understanding, from reacting to observing. One of the greatest and often overlooked advantages of silence is its direct impact on your ability to listen and learn. The less you speak, the more you absorb. The more you absorb, the wiser you become. We often underestimate how much knowledge is missed in the noise of constant talking. When you're always focused on expressing your own opinions, telling your story, or making your point, you leave very little space to genuinely hear others. But when you step back, when you resist the urge to speak and instead choose to listen deeply, you begin to see things from angles you never considered. You hear what people are really saying, not just their words, but their emotions, their intentions, their mindset. Silence opens the door to true observation. In conversation, in meetings, in daily life, the one who listens carefully often learns more than the one who talks. You start noticing patterns in people's behavior. You pick up on subtle clues, emotions, and energies. You begin to understand human nature on a deeper level, not through your assumptions, but through focused, intentional listening. And learning doesn't only come from listening to others. It comes from listening to yourself. In silence, you start to hear your inner voice more clearly. You notice your own thoughts, your fears, your goals, and your doubts. You become aware of what triggers you, what inspires you, and what drives your decisions. That self-awareness is the foundation of all personal growth, and it thrives in quiet moments. Keeping things to yourself also creates the space needed for reflection. When you're not constantly explaining your journey to others, you can sit with your thoughts, evaluate your choices, and make better decisions moving forward. You're no longer living in reaction to outside opinions. You're moving forward based on what you've observed, understood, and processed internally. And here's something truly powerful. People begin to notice your silence. They notice your ability to listen without interrupting, to observe without judging, to think before responding. In a world full of noise, the quiet mind stands out. It's seen as wise, calm, and in control. And that perception can open doors, create trust, and inspire respect in ways loud voices never can. Listening isn't passive, it's intentional. It's an active skill that separates great thinkers from the average crowd. And by keeping things to yourself, by choosing silence over chatter, you sharpen this skill like a blade. You learn faster, grow deeper, and develop the kind of wisdom that can only be earned in stillness. Mastering the art of keeping things to yourself is a direct reflection of emotional maturity. It shows the world, and more importantly, yourself, that you have grown beyond the need for constant validation, instant approval, or reactive behavior. It is the mark of someone who has gained inner strength, who understands the value of peace over pride, and who has learned that self-respect is far more powerful than attention. Emotional maturity means you no longer feel the urge to announce everything you do. You don't share every hurt just to gain sympathy. You don't reveal every achievement just to get praise. You don't expose every plan just to prove you're doing something valuable. You recognize that your emotions are yours to manage, not broadcast. And that realization creates a kind of unshakable calm within you, a calm that comes from being anchored, not easily stirred by the winds of others' opinions. When you keep things to yourself, it shows you've developed restraint, a discipline that most people struggle with. You don't explode when provoked. You don't argue just to be right. You don't rush to defend your every move. You know that silence, at times, is more dignified than explanation. You understand that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every comment deserves a response. This level of emotional control doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you process them privately, thoughtfully, and maturely. You think before you speak. You reflect before you react. And when you do choose to express something, it's with intention and clarity, not out of impulse or ego. You've learned to ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this helpful? Is this wise? Before you share anything personal. Emotional maturity is also about security, the kind of security that comes from knowing who you are. You don't need others to validate your choices because you've already evaluated them yourself. You don't need to be praised to feel worthy because your worth doesn't come from applause. It comes from self-respect, purpose, and alignment with your values. When you're emotionally mature, silence is no longer uncomfortable, it's empowering. You're no longer threatened by what others think of your silence. In fact, you welcome the misunderstanding. Let them wonder, let them assume. You've outgrown the desire to explain yourself to people who are not part of your growth. Your journey is sacred, and not everyone deserves a seat at the table where your thoughts are served. Keeping things to yourself becomes a conscious decision, not out of fear or secrecy, but from a deep understanding of what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You stop oversharing because you no longer seek emotional permission from the world. You already have your own.